It's amazing how some mysteries just stick around, don't you think? Like the Zodiac Killer. I mean, ciphers, creepy letters. It's like it happened yesterday, even though it's been what, like 5 decades? What is it about this case? This whole unsolved thing, that just gets everyone going.
I think it's that whole fear factor mixed with intrigue. We're talking late 60s California. Everyone thinks, peace and love. Then bam, these attacks, and they seem totally random. Anyone could be next. Plus, the Zodiac wants everyone to know his name. To think like that could be you. It's unsettling.
Okay, so like for people who might not, be experts, what are we even talking about? It was a series of murders, right? Northern California back
Yeah.
in the late 60s.
Yeah. And the letters are really what made this case stand out. He sent them straight to the newspapers, right to them, often with ciphers and bragging about the crimes. They managed to crack a few of them, and let me tell you, they gave a glimpse into this guy's head. Not a fun place to be. But there are others, like that infamous Z13 that nobody's cracked.
He wanted to like make himself a legend, even though, terrifying. It's interesting though, because even with all the new technology and detectives working the case, it's still unsolved. So what now? There have been two new projects just in the last year looking at the Zodiac, each one totally different.
Absolutely. One is you've got Netflix's This is the Zodiac Speaking, which is a docuseries that's really digging into the existing evidence. Specifically, Arthur Lee Allen, he was a main suspect, died in
Which
92.
sounds like classic true crime detectives, old files trying to put it all together.
Yeah.
Then you've got this other one, completely different. Peacock's Myth of the Zodiac Killer. This one is something else, right?
Totally different. It presents Professor Thomas Henry Horan's theory. It's controversial. He's basically saying the Zodiac, the one we all think about, he didn't exist. What he's saying is, and it's chilling, that the murders, as awful as they were, weren't done by one person, maybe even multiple people, all with their own motives.
So you're saying there might not have even been a Zodiac, that the letters, the puzzles, the whole thing made up. That's a lot to take in.
A lot to unpack there. So Horan's theory, right? Couple main points. First, the physical evidence, the stuff that connects the murders, it's shaky at best.
Fair.
And the witness stories, how he did it, it's all over the place. Second point, he says those letters, the ones that made Zodiac a household name, what if someone just wanted the attention, saw a chance to be part of a huge, horrible story and took it? Makes you rethink everything. Like the ciphers, we always thought they were like the key to the Zodiac. But imagine this. What if they were never meant to be solved? Just a way to mess with everybody, throw everyone off.
Someone using these awful events,
Yeah.
trying to be famous because of it,
Yeah.
that's pretty disturbing. But wouldn't someone have come forward if that was true? Wouldn't they have cracked by now after
Yeah.
all this time? It's a lot to keep quiet.
Oh, absolutely. It's possible, right? But we're talking about something that happened over 50 years ago. Witnesses, they get older, memories fade, and the fear the Zodiac made sure of that, it was real. So someone, involved or not, might choose to just keep it to themselves. Even after all this time, better safe than sorry.
And to pull off a hoax, something this big, wouldn't that take a special kind of person? Someone who is manipulative, really smart, no empathy, someone who could make themselves part of these horrible events and sleep at night knowing what really happened.
You hit the nail on the head. It would take a very specific personality. And that's where Horan's theory really gets interesting. It gets into the psychology of it all. He looks at the Zodiac's letters, right? All those threats and bragging. But there's also this need for control to manipulate the news and even the police.
That's true. The Zodiac, he loved the attention, the fear. Every time he sent a message, everyone freaked out. He was playing everyone, and it was working.
Exactly. And that need to be in control, to be known, it fits with certain personality types, right? So maybe the person or people behind it all, they craved power, being famous. It wasn't about just hurting others.
So are we supposed to believe that the Zodiac, this boogeyman that's haunted California, that true crime fans are obsessed with, was maybe just some ego trip?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? But here's the thing. Even if what Horan is saying is interesting, it's still a theory. We don't have actual proof. No evidence, no nothing that says for sure whether there was one Zodiac or not.
So what now? Do we just keep debating forever
Mm-hmm.
about who the Zodiac really was,
Yeah.
sifting through old evidence, guesses, hoping to find something concrete?
Maybe, but that's what makes this whole thing so captivating, right? It's this giant puzzle, but with no solution. It's like a reflection. We see our fears and fascination with the unknown in it. And no matter if the Zodiac was real, a group of people, or a big fat lie, there's no question that he had an impact. culturally, I mean.
I agree. That creepy movie Zodiac with, what's his name, David Fincher, all those documentaries, the podcast, people just can't get enough. But these new ones, this is the Zodiac speaking and myth of the Zodiac Killer. It's cool how they take such different approaches.
Totally. One is all about the classic true crime thing, right? Details, evidence, chasing down the suspect. The other one flips it on its head. Like, what if everything we thought we knew was wrong? It shows how powerful the Zodiac story is, you know? How it changes and messes with how we see things.
I feel like people are, like, drawn to trying to figure out the impossible. The Zodiac case, it's got this real-life horror mixed with stuff that seems fake. It messes with our deepest fears.
I know, right? And think about it. Back then, no internet, no podcasts. The Zodiac's letters going straight to the newspapers, that was his way to control everything. To make himself into something everyone would know, be scared of.
And he did a pretty good job of it. Just the name Zodiac, it means something, even though we might never know who he was.
Exactly. Even if some of it's not true, even if he made stuff up, the Zodiac changed how we think about this stuff. He's like this modern boogeyman, chaos and mystery all rolled into one.
He's bigger than just a killer now.
Yeah, totally. Mysteries like this, they get under our skin. Zodiac, Jack the Ripper, doesn't matter. We're drawn to the darkness, the idea that maybe some things just won't ever be solved. It's scary.
So where does that leave us? We spent all this time on the Zodiac. Did we get any closer to finding him? Or maybe the real question is, what does he mean to us? What does he represent?
That's the question, isn't it? I mean, we've got all this technology now, new ways to investigate that they didn't have back then. Maybe there's still a chance to get justice for those families, to finally close the book.
But there's always that doubt that maybe he's like a ghost, always one step ahead, and we'll never really know who he was.
And that might be the scariest part, because sometimes the things that scare us the most, they're the ones we make up in our own heads, the shadows that stick around, even when the lights are on.
Wow. Okay, we'll leave you with that. If you're as into the Zodiac Killer as we are, do yourselves a favor. Check out the stuff we've linked, the articles, documentaries, the whole 9 yards. Make up your own mind. Let us know what you think. Maybe, just maybe, someone listening has that last puzzle piece.
And until then, we'll keep digging, keep asking questions, and never forget the victims as we try to make sense of it all.
That's it for our deep dive on the Zodiac Killer. Always changing, always fascinating. Until next time, keep those brains working, and we'll see you in the next one.